we can make sadness a gendered emotion by suggesting that we only will allow women to be sad. And if a man is sad, that is, he cries at a sports press conference, then we will come up with all these assumptions about who he is, right? We would talk about him online. We would say that he's not actually a man. So here's an interesting question about anger and gender. So the person recognizes that when describing rage and anger, you often use he, him pronouns. Why is that? Is it because men are more inclined to anger and rage? And then they ask, are there different variations of anger and rage that are selective to gender? So I don't think that by definition, there are different anger types based on who you are or what gender you identify as. Because what that will suggest is that, once again, I want to say that we have human emotions because we are human. We don't have certain kinds of emotions because we are male or female or whatever. It's not because we identify in that particular way. Emotions are human. We don't have more or less of them by the fact, or necessarily by the fact that we belong to a particular gender. But that is not to say that these emotions that are so human for us, that they are not gendered. And simply what I mean by that is it's not to say that these emotions are necessarily one thing or the other. It's to simply suggest that we as social human beings that have a tendency to socially construct and socially interpret and therefore make social rules based on concepts and realities. Unfortunately, we have made emotions quite gendered. And so, as I kind of mentioned earlier, we know that everyone gets sad. However, we can make sadness a gendered emotion by suggesting that we only will allow women to be sad. And if a man is sad, that is, he cries at a sports press conference, then we will come up with all these assumptions about who he is, right? We would talk about him online. We would say that he's not actually a man. And that is basically punishing him for not following a particular social script. And it's the flip side with anger. Anger is typically seen, everyone experiences anger. But anger is typically seen as a gendered emotion. We expect men to be angry. I mean, there's a law that basically says, if a crime of passion, that if men see that their partner has committed infidelity, we can understand why they will engage in certain kind of violent behavior, because men, they get angry and it's not their fault. And so we're going to give them a lesser penalty. And it's not the same in the law when it comes to women, right? We expect women to flee, to be fearful. We don't expect them to respond in ways in which men do. But that's not to say that emotions themselves are gendered. It's just that what we do, how we interpret, and how we punish and reward emotions are very much social and very much a result of what we do as social constructivist human beings.